Okay, welcome to the RSU 14 Board of Directors meeting. Today is, are you sure we're on?
Yes.
We just don't see ourselves.
We don't see ourselves either.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. Which is probably a good thing I don't. Anyway, today is Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. The time is 6:30 p.m. and we are in the Raymond Broadcast Modular. May I have a roll call, please?
Kate Bricks.
Here.
Jessica Bridges.
Here.
Jenny Butler.
Here.
Marge Gavoni.
Here.
Pete Hensler.
Here.
Char Jewell.
Here.
Kate Levier.
Here.
Scott McLean. Jody Carroll.
Here.
Al Potter.
Here.
Will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Howell, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
There was one adjustment that was made to the agenda. It's the wording in one of the motions for one of the lease purchases. Board members, you actually have the corrected agenda in there, and it was just simply the addition of the actual leasing agency. It was put in the wrong spot in the paragraph. So that's the only adjustment tonight. It's correct on the website, and it is correct in the board packet.
Perfect. Thank you. We're going to move to item 5. It's always a delight to have students present for the board, and we are extremely excited to have Odyssey of the Mind student presentation. If Coach Dan Knott would come forward and any students and right up to the podium, we'd love to hear about your recent Odyssey of the Mind competition.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting us here tonight. We're excited to share about our experience, Odyssey of the Mind. So I'm the coach, Dan Knott, be accompanied by Alex Fuller. In just a moment, she'll come up and speak partly. Riley Prescott as well, Tori Levitt, Fiona Knott, and Liam Yates. So those are our 5 team members. Odyssey of the Mind, just a little background on what it is. It started back in the 1970s. I actually had to find this out myself, so it's been around for some time. Teachers developed a program as a way to reach out to students, kind of help them really kind of problem solve and have open-ended answers and try to form solutions to problems that they could find unique aspects and some different than the typical school that the experience was at the time. And so it grew. The program grew in the 1980s. It became actually international. Canada joined and sent teams to compete to solve these problems that were presented to their teams of students. And so they're given scores in the different venues of the competition. So, and today it's grown even more so. We've just attended in Ames, Iowa, returning back from the world competition. International teams were there from South Korea, Switzerland, and Poland, and it was quite the event. But I'm going to let them speak on kind of different components to the Odyssey of the Mind program and sharing some of their experience as well too. So, there's Alex first.
Hello, as said, I'm Alex Fuller. So one of the main components of Odyssey of the Mind is the long-term problem, which is one of 5 different types of problems that they each have different things for different teams to potentially focus on. Like problem 1 is escape room, where contestants have to build their own type of car. And then problem 2, which is Odyssey reinvention, we did problem 3, which is the classics problem, where you have to do a performance where there are often certain regulations as to what you can have, and like things that you need to have in your presentation, and you basically put on a play for the judges. And oftentimes, problem 4 is the matryoshka structure, where contestants who chose that problem will have to build a structure from balsa wood that can withstand a certain amount of pressure. And then problem 5 is a performance one also, And most teams will typically pick which problem they want to do based on either what most of the members of the team are more interested in. Like if they're more interested in building a set and putting on a performance, they'll choose the problem that we chose, which is the classics problem. And a lot of times teams will go with the problem that they have become most adjusted to. Like, we have been in OM for a few years now, so most of those times we have gone with problem 3 because it's the one that we have adapted along with, sort of. And I think I will introduce my fellow team member Riley now.
Hello, so I will be talking about our process with script writing and prop making. So when we do our problem, we have to pick a central focus. Now this year it was picking someone who should have been a well-known historical figure, but was much lesser known. And so once we made our selection as to who we wanted to choose, we had to do a lot of research on history, background, and information. And then we chose our key features that we were most interested in with the person and which ones were the biggest in history. And we started to adapt them into a script. So script writing was basically taking information and adapting it in our own way. And we went for a more comedic style of performance. So we made sure that we found interesting and funny pieces of his life and adapted that into our performance. Now with prop making, because the fact that we had certain things that we had planned, we had to make the props for it. So we had a budget of $150, and that's what each team got. And so we had to use cheaper materials such as cardboard or like paper and things like that, and adapt that into props. So we used a lot of cardboard to make a lot of our props. Our backdrop was painted fabric, and our most expensive, but in my opinion the coolest prop, was our cannon, which was made by Liam. It was an air-powered cannon that was built so that we would be able to fire pom-poms as a theatrical effect.
Yeah, PVC.
Yeah, that was made of PVC piping, so it was definitely a little bit more expensive, but it was well worth it. So, yeah, and I think that's probably it for the props.
Was he like one person? What was his name?
Pedro Francisco.
Revolutionary War soldier.
Myth to have carried a 1,100-ton cannon on his shoulder.
Wow.
So that's why we had the cannon.
Okay.
All right, Tori, you think you're ready?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're done.
So I'm Tori. So we were just hearing about the long-term problem that teams have to do, but there's also an additional problem that teams are faced with, and it's like a spontaneous problem. And going up to the competition, you have no clue what this spontaneous problem is, hence why it's spontaneous. And a lot of the times, this, like, whatever happens in the spontaneous room stays in the spontaneous room. You cannot talk about it whatsoever until after the world's competition, because other teams might have that same problem and make it fair. So all things, there's like kind of two types of spontaneous problems that you would face. One is like a verbal, where you're given a prompt or like a picture that you have to say responses for. Like you're given a picture of a sleeping panda, and you're asked, "Oh, what's this panda dreaming of?" There's also hands-on prompts where think of like the toothpick and marshmallow tower, where you have to build something with something and reach a goal. Typically, to prepare for these spontaneous problems, we'll practice with a variety of example problems. Like the easiest to practice is verbal, of course, but sometimes we'll practice with the hands-on. Our team is much more skilled with the verbal problems. I would say that we're a very funny group of people, so our humor can always get us points there. But we always get a good challenge when we get a hands-on problem, which we were actually given one at Worlds, and that gave us a challenge, but we were able to work through it with teamwork. And that's kind of the biggest part of the spontaneous problem, alongside the long-term problem, is just teamwork and innovation, like problem solving and stuff. And I think that is all I have to say about the spontaneous problem. I'm going to introduce Fiona onto the mic.
Yeah, I'm Fiona, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure of, like, the way the competition itself is set up, and the structure and sort of the divisions. So there are 3 divisions. Division 1 is for younger kids, usually it's primary school around. Division 2 is for middle schoolers, and Division 3 is for high schoolers, and there is technically Division 4 for college students, but that's not, that's kind of not very well populated sometimes. And within these divisions, obviously there are the different problems, and for each of the
It's alive.
No, for each of the problems, there are a couple teams within each division focusing on each problem. It's pretty straightforward generally. You start out with, sometimes there's a local competition in rare events where there's a lot of interest in one specific problem within like a town or like a school or whatever. They'll have like a local competition, which again doesn't happen very often, but it can. And then it goes to regionals, which is kind of in a general area, say like, I don't know, Cumberland County or something like that. And then it goes up to states, which is for the entire state, and then it goes to international, or worlds, which is, again, it is an international competition. As said, there's usually like a team or two. In fact, there's a lot of teams from each state here this time around, but there were also teams from like Poland, Switzerland, and South Korea there this time. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about the structure. There's not a whole lot to be said about that. Yeah. So Liam, why don't you come on up?
So while we've all heard about the spontaneous, how we did our long-term, and how the competition is set up, I'm going to be talking about our time at Worlds itself. We flew in the day before and spent the next day getting accustomed to Ames and the campus that we were staying on. That night, we did our opening ceremony, which was very similar to the Olympics, in which every state sent representatives to in a parade, and we got to meet everybody from all over the world. The next couple days are kind of a blur, honestly. They went by very fast, but in the best way possible. We had a lot of team building and community building exercises, like pin trading, where we had enamel pins that each state got sent with. You could trade them in between the states. And the World Creativity Fair, where every place had a booth which you could go try out their game. Those were mixed in with our long-term and spontaneous problems, which we got to watch some of our other competitions, and it was a really cool experience to see how you get set with a particular set of rules at the beginning, and everyone does it differently, so it was really awesome to see other people outside of Maine itself do their solutions, really. Those days were awesome. We met some really cool people. We've made some really good friends, and the entirety of everything was finished with a closing ceremony, which again was kind of Olympic style, where all the winners were congratulated, given trophies, and we went home the next day. I'm really happy we went. We all are. It was a great experience, and hopefully we can go again next year. I'll invite Mr. Knott back up here to close us out.
Yeah, so the road to get to the Worlds this year, we couldn't have done without the hard work of the families doing a lot of fundraising. Just want to say thank you to the community too, because there were so many businesses and individuals who came out to support us at each of those different opportunities to raise funds for the work. The costs to the flight, and when it comes to staying on campus, and those shuttle expenses, everything adds up. So it would be nice, going forward, if Odyssey continues to grow in the community, to start to think about kind of creating a leadership and a pool around kind of keeping that momentum going, because it really does provide a great opportunity for these students. I can't say how proud I am of these guys, and I need to note, as a coach for Odyssey too, I have to step back. I have to let them do all the problem solving. I can't tell them like, hey, this isn't the right way to do it, because their way is the right way, and I can't interject how I think anything should go. I can ask them questions and say, what do you think? Are there other ways? But ultimately it's their decision. And after 8+ years of coaching a lot of these students, it's just been a great, wonderful experience. So again, a thank you to them for being who they are. So thank you to you guys for having us here tonight.
It was
So.
the first time at Worlds. Yeah, the second time.
Bravo. Any board questions for this group?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to congratulate you again and just say that, definitely made the district proud, and I'm excited for all of you, and you all did a great job in presenting, giving us a little insight as to what goes on. I was just curious about a couple of details. When it comes to like the long problem and the spontaneous problem, how much time do you have to complete those? Yeah, please.
Okay. Oh, do you want to?
So, so for the long-term problem, you are given 8 minutes to perform your solution. If you go over, you get penalized. For the spontaneous, it varies, but typically it's also around 8 minutes. For some verbal questions, you'd be given like a minute to think and then 7 minutes to speak. It varies a bit, but it's generally like that.
And how long do you have to prepare for the long term?
So for the long term, I think they give out the problems in like December.
December into January.
Yeah, December and January. We started our meetings and like preparing our solution in like early February, which was a little bit of a short time because our state's competition was it was March 16th, was it? Yeah, somewhere around there. But so it was definitely a time crunch, but we held there and we did well.
Perfect. And then the other thing I was curious about, you said there's 5 problems in terms of the long term. Is there a winner for each problem, or how does the judging work on that?
So essentially for the judging with that, for each problem, there is each division that does each problem. So there will be a winner for Division 1 for Problem 1, for example, winner for Division 2 for Problem 2, or no, a winner for Division 2 for Problem 1, a winner for Division 3 for Problem 1, and then so on and so forth.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Just a comment. So as a OM alum, I am so excited for you guys. We got to go to Worlds when I was in high school a while ago. And I remember, it's a blur, but you remember like the pins. I so want to see your pins, by the way. I'll even find mine and share them with you someday. But just that experience alone is huge, and it will stick with you forever. So I'm so proud of you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, in conclusion, thank you to Coach Knott for your leadership. 8 years, you said? That's incredible. Thank you. And I also have to say how well spoken all of you were in your presentation. Very captivating. I was riveted, and I love the fact that humor is a part of your group. I love humor, and I think that really carries you far. So, wonderful job. Thank you for coming this evening, and good luck in the future. Thank you so much. If you'd like to scoot out, you're more than welcome to, or you're happy. You know, we'd love to have you stay.
It's not a school night.
Next up, it's my pleasure to recognize our newly elected board members. First, I'd like to welcome Jody Carroll, who will be representing Richmond for a year, correct? That's your term?
Yes.
Welcome, and looking forward to working with you. And welcome back to Shar Jewell, who was elected for 3 years. And welcome aboard again. So we're going to giddy up and have a lot of work come fall. So welcome both of you, and congratulations. Public input. We welcome public input, and as a refresher, here are the ground rules. All speakers are asked to state your name and the town that you reside in. We will continue to limit each person to 3 minutes. Each person will have 1 opportunity to speak. No complaints or allegations will be allowed in public concerning any student, staff member connected to the school system. All other public comment noted after a motion is restricted to the motion on the floor. With that being said, I welcome anyone who would like to come up to the podium.
I don't know if I'll be as eloquent as those students were, but I'm going to try. Tough act to follow. So my name is Holly Bean. I live here in Wynnum. This is a school that my children went to. I don't have children here anymore, but I'm keenly invested in children. I am a professor at a university, and I'm a psychotherapist. So children are important to me. I have a lot of adolescents that come into therapy. Depression, anxiety are 2 of the top issues that I note today with adolescents and teenagers that come in. I'm also noticing that there's a lot of buzzwords that go on, and understanding developmentally where these children are, such as the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, which is their executive thinking area. It helps with critical thinking skills. What's going on? Why is it going on? And how does it apply to me? Instead, it's the amygdala, and that's what we call the reptilian brain, the emotional brain, is still fully intact. The prefrontal cortex doesn't become fully developed, sometimes in 20s to the 30s and even beyond. So what we hear is a lot of buzzwords going on today, and there's a lot of buzzwords in the school districts. I'm hearing them from my clients as well, as the clinician, and not understanding it. But children today want to fit in. We always did, except today it's a little harder because there's so much more information that they have to absorb. And they hear these buzzwords and they want to just fit in, so they go along with it. And kind of to push this, this thought process home for me, my grandchildren are out playing on the basketball court, and I practice this speech to them and use some of the buzzwords. And I asked them what they thought about it. And they said, "Well, you sound really professional, Grandma, but we don't know what you said." And they're this age, the same age. So some of the concepts that are being taught, I think, are important, such as tolerance, but it's used another buzzword. There's another word being used instead. Tolerance, equity, inclusion. I teach inclusivity and equity, diversity. And these are important issues, but they also have to come from the home and the family. How teachers include it today is beyond me. And my PhD is in education, educational leadership and public policy. So I understand the difficulties that teachers are faced today, parents are faced today, and children are faced today. And I just wanted to bring that up. That's my point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to me. Thank you. And I'm going to go grab my grandchildren. Thank you. Thank you. That was great. I also want to say that I don't think my prefrontal cortex is fully developed either. So I am Dr. Robin Frost. You guys probably know. I am a Wynnum resident, soon to be non. But what I'd like to say is I truly hope, and actually I hope and pray that as a community and as a board and as a school system, that we really start to look at, we focus on not separating and not having people be together or equal, but I see the dynamics from the last budget meeting and how that wedge separation continues to be present. And I know that my input sometimes is misconstrued as being combative, but my only hope and my only want of this whole situation is to have people come together united as a community. And that, you know, it's not the parents against the teachers. It really shouldn't be. I credit my daughter's teachers with her success at Wynnum Middle School. I credit the amazing staff there. And so I see that from the Department of Education that the teacher leaving the professions at 35%. We're already overtaxing our teachers. They have too much to do. There's more kids at the Wynnum High School than ever before. And we look at the fact that when we looked at our budget, the first people we were going to cut were our teachers. And I think that, you know, looking at that, we should understand that, you know, working together is going to be way more effective than having people yelling at each other at a budget meeting when people are just trying to speak and have a conversation, and have an understanding that we should be working together and not separate. So I truly hope for this community and the school district success always. But it saddens me when that wedge is driven. And, you know, thank you all for putting up with me as long as you have. And, you know, I'm truly thankful for the fact and the time that you guys give to this board, and as well as you both. And I wish nothing but the best for this community and these children and these teachers and staff members. I really, really, my heart is invested in this. I've been here and started my practice in 1994. I have 4 successful children that have come through this district, and 1 just graduated 8th grade. So thanks.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Ken Clark, Wynnum, and I just want to kind of proceed a little bit on things that Holly was saying, that, you know, we try not to do it, or we don't believe it, or we're trying to suggest that maybe the teachers are putting their ideologies, their thoughts, their information that they feel kids should read or they should study. I brought this book up again, and again, it's coming from their perspective, okay? So I'd like to read an email that my daughter had corresponded. You've heard enough from me, so I'd like to maybe have you folks hear what my daughter had a correspondence with a teacher. She wrote this about, I don't know, 5 months ago. She finally had the courage for me to.
Before you read it, I just want to caution you that no names can be mentioned.
Respect. Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So my daughter wrote this. I have some concerns about a recent article you assigned for us to do. It says its source CNN. Again, pushing their news. I don't believe CNN is a reliable site, and just to confirm, I just did some research and found neither Fox or CNN are reliable. Britannica.com says it's a subsidiary of Warner Media, which is closely related to Mass Media Entertainment Corporation. My daughter's 11. I'm kind of proud of this. Not to mention, throughout this whole year, you have had some sort of BLM poster up in the classroom. In the past couple weeks, it has been pestering me, and I'm starting to believe you have a political opinion that you are pushing onto me and onto everyone in the classroom. I hope this message is not seen as aggressive, but rather me questioning. Why do you choose to keep the sign up, and why do you believe CNN is a reliable site? I will continue doing the assignments you have given me, but if I still believe there is propaganda that exists in your classroom, I may ask it to be removed from the class because I value my education. I refuse to be a pawn or having a political messages in learning environment that is supposed to be welcoming and not separating by frankly irrelevant ideology. The teacher responded, Thank you so much for your email and voicing your concerns. When I read this article, I thought it contained a nice message and thought it was interesting. Again, her thoughts, respectively. I know we are all looking for ways to spread kindness. We all are. It never occurred to me that you would feel like it's ideology. I have shared an alternative article for you. I try to save articles that I think my students might like to read, so I have others I can easily access. I appreciate your voice so much. As with the BLM poster, I am not trying to alienate or send political messages. It is my attempt to be welcoming to all students, because I don't consider BLM to be political. I consider it to be a social movement. Her perspective. Again, thank you for your email, and I hope this alternative article is a better choice for you. So she gave her another article. My daughter responded, thank you, and I do find the article to be very interesting. It's important to me that it is all coming from factual sites. By definition, BLM is not political. However, that doesn't mean it's not controversial. It creates a barrier in a place that should not have one. I believe Black Lives Matter.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
This is the working together. I have that much more to read from my daughter. Could I please ask for 30 seconds? I waited an hour at the last meeting when the agenda got moved.
Thank you very much, sir.
That's not open-minded.
Anyone else? I don't see any other public comment. We're going to move into superintendent's report.
A bunch of different topics to share tonight just because it's as we wrapped up the end of the school year. So today was the official last day of school for students. I've heard there was a lot of excitement as kids left, and I heard there was a lot of excitement as adults left today to be able to start their summer and to go ahead and take their well-deserved break for the year that we've all been through. I will say it was very pleasant to ride the last couple weeks here as COVID subsided once again, and again to be able to have as few disruptions as possible. But we also have some people who are going to be leaving RSU 14 and are retiring, and will be moving on to doing some traveling and to be trying some other things out. But Therese Burns, who's a behavior specialist at Wynnum Primary School, is going to be heading out, and Joe Boudreau, who was a STEM teacher at Wynnum Middle School, who retired mid-year, Nancy Cash-Cobb, who is in her 40th year, in RSU 14, if I remember correctly, all of it, but music teacher at Wynnum Primary School. Kim Hutchins, who's a special education teacher at Jordan Small. Kim's going to be heading to Colorado in a camper to spend some time with her son. I told her 2 months of unplanned time sounded wonderful. And then Pam Menard, who is I think 23 years, a grade 2 teacher at Wynnum Primary School. Pam is heading off to Hawaii as soon as school gets out. I don't know if that's next week or not. In addition, we had some of our support staff who will also be retiring. Denise Beckwith, who is an Ed Tech 3. Barbara Foss, who is one of our van drivers. John Keller, who Ed Tech 3, but also managed the garden up here at Jordan Small and did some absolutely fantastic work there. Ken Levinsky, who had been at Wynnum High School for a number of years as a study hall monitor. Mindy McKinney, Miss Mindy, at Raymond Elementary School, and I was going to throw a picture of the assembly from Mindy's celebration yesterday. Maybe I'll get a chance to throw it in the next board packet, but to go into the RES gym for their big assembly and to see an absolute sea of pink flamingo hats for celebrating Miss Mindy was super special, super special to see that. Nancy Sperry and Catherine Reed, who are both ed techs at Manchester, supporting students a number of years. So we have some individuals who put in a number of years of service who will be heading off, and just want to wish them the absolute best of luck in the work that they're doing. I had a chance today to spend some time in Augusta for a couple different meetings. First of all, with Jobs for Maine graduates for the board meeting, and also the chance, Chris Henderson, who just graduated from Wynnum High School, was one of the keynote speakers at the JMG meeting today. And Chris shared how much the JMG has actually supported him, helped him through some very difficult situations, and supported him as now he's heading off to SMCC. but it was great to hear Chris speak. Chris will also be speaking at the state meeting for JMG next week, where they bring all the specialists in, all the adults that work with the program. And what was cool about it was that Chris is a student who started in South Portland in a JMG program, transferred to Wynnum High School to a JMG program, is going to SMCC, and there's a JMG program.
Wow.
And all the specialists were there today with him, and it was almost like everyone had handed him off to make sure that he is doing some absolute great things. To go along with that, JMG's announced a recent initiative which through the Department of Health and Human Services, where they are working on paid internships for up to 2,000 juniors and seniors with a $500 or $600 paid internship for students for extended learning opportunities. So those are basically what our capstone is based on, getting out in the community, learning more about a particular area of interest or an occupation that interests you. And so this is an opportunity now for students to possibly get paid. We also received some really good news this week that a grant that Vanessa Mishu and Lorraine Glowzik, I'm never going to say her name right, Glowzik, that they had worked together. But we received a grant this past week for $132,800 to help us with ELO development for developing internships, providing opportunities out in the community, alternative credit options. So part of this is professional development, but part of it is also to support the development, and we're kind of hoping that we can kind of sneak in on the JMG portion, which is then, in addition to just creating them, to be able to offer our students some paid opportunities when they're out and about. So more information to come on that.
Did you say 130,000?
$132,800.
Wow.
So
that's exciting.
Pretty exciting, and I think it was Lorraine and Vanessa's first grant together. So it's always exciting when you have that. So also we've had some great end of the year sports stuff. Pete, I'm not going to take softball. I'm going to talk about the other stuff. We have boys lacrosse who are playing as we speak in Falmouth for their regional final. In addition, Stella Inman, who, if you remember, was here in the winter time for indoor track for a state championship. And I think it was in shot put for indoor. She is now the state champion in discus.
Oh, wow.
So exciting to see her doing that. Our track team actually earned what I think is one of the best recognitions altogether, which is that they received the Class A South Sportsmanship Award banner. And anytime that we receive one of those, it was interesting that somebody pointed out to me the other day, if you go in the Wynnum High School gym, there's a sportsmanship banner for South, North, East, and West, because we've been in all these different classifications of different places over the years. But anytime that we receive that sportsmanship banner award, it's an absolutely fantastic thing. It just shows what great kids that we have in RSU 14. In addition, here on my list, and I know we've talked about this and Jeannie's talked about this, but school meals, breakfast and lunch will continue to be free all next year for students. One thing that's going to be a little different this year, this upcoming year, is that we will need to collect eligibility information, even though it won't impact whether or not a student is able to access it. But it will be part of meeting the federal provisions for free and reduced lunch to make sure that we collect that data. And I think board members, you've heard also from me a number of times about economically disadvantaged and how that goes and supports students who would fall into that category. So Christine, if you could just briefly, summer school and summer programs are going to be starting.
Sure.
Shortly. Go ahead.
We have a variety of programs in addition to ESY, which is extended school year for students who qualify for that through special education. We have programs at every school. Transportation department has moved mountains to make sure that we have a robust transportation plan to get students to and from programs. They will run anywhere from 9 days to the full 5-week program, ESY and regular other summer programming that will be taking place. So it will start next week for some programs, and families have been told dates and times and pick up and drop off information, and will run right through the longest program, ESY included, July 28th is the last date. So A lot will be happening in all of the schools. Focus on academic intervention and enrichment, and that routine and building some of those skills. So it should be a great summer for all.
So just a couple last things is just congratulations to Wynnum High School class of 2022. And also congratulations to all of our tuition students who graduated from Raymond, from all sorts of different places. I think we had 5 or 6 different other high schools in which they graduated. So congratulations to them as well. Adult Ed will be graduating tomorrow night in the Wynnum High School auditorium. So we have some students that will be involved with that. And I think that's about it. So just it's been a whirlwind of a couple of weeks. But just some really great celebrations, and it's just been nice to reconnect with people and to see, I don't know, a normal graduation was nice to be participating in. Yes, you may.
Pre-K and K screening, pre-K and kindergarten screening starts on Tuesday. The first day of screening for pre-K and K will be across the street at Raymond Elementary School. All day. Families have appointment times. They want to check their PTC fast email confirmation. That is important. And then we will move the show down to Wyndham Primary School, set up all the stations again for screening. For those of you who remember, there's motor and concepts and speech and language and hearing and parent questionnaire station, and all sorts of things will be happening. So Wyndham Primary screening will take place Wednesday through Friday, 3 days, full days. So we'll get all of our families hopefully screened, and anyone who moves in or wasn't able to secure an appointment then, we'll have another screening day in August, date to be determined. So
I always have to laugh when I think of screening because there was one question. And I'm curious if it's still a question. Because I prompted my grandkids that it might be a question. What is ketchup made out of?
okay, I do not know that is a part of the
Okay, so maybe I'm showing my age, because back in the day, you had to know what ketchup was made out of. And
are they supposed to say something other than tomatoes?
no, you're supposed to say tomatoes.
So is it a trick question?
I'm thinking back to Ronald Reagan when he was president. Wasn't ketchup the vegetable?
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
tied to that?
Maybe.
You are right.
Don't forget the water, the salt, and the sugar.
Okay.
I will look into that, Miss Briggs, and get back to you.
Absorbic acid. I'm very curious. Okay, thank you both for those updates. Board roundtable. Okay.
Okay, I've got a couple of things. One is Monday I went to a lot of people did. I went to the 8th grade graduation at the high school. Let me tell you, that was, if everybody, people who've been here a while know that is the biggest grade number of students that we've followed through. That is the class that we put the addition on the back of the Field Allen for. So that auditorium was packed, and I do mean packed. The kids took up the whole middle row in the beginning of the 2 sides there. Everybody was extremely, extremely excited. It's kind of like going back to getting normal again. It's kind of some normalcy. Mr. Patton gave a great speech, how basically it's been very tough for these kids because they came into the 6th grade, basically, and from there on in, they were like in school, not in school, whatever, and so they're hopefully getting back to some normalcy. There were a lot of awards given out. Actually, I don't remember us having this because a lot of my grandkids have gone through, but of course, I know we didn't have it in the last few years. But it was excellent. The kids loved it, and the parents were just super, super thrilled. So that went really, really great. The other thing is we have finished up the RSU 14 backpack program for the year, naturally, because school is done. And I would be remiss if I did not go through this list. And if there's anybody I forget, I apologize. But I need to thank, because this is a program that could not be possible without these following people. Michelle Jordan, who basically lines up the volunteers to help come and pack. The businesses, organizations, and residents who continue to contribute monetary donations. Staff, that's the staff at the school who helps the program. Those are the designated people in each one of the schools that make sure that those bags get to the students they're supposed to get to. Jeannie and Ryan with food service, they have been like so much help. They are like a humongous part of this. And by the way, the kitchen staff, because that's who I interrupt every week when we go to pack, and that's where we store our food. And they're very, very gracious when we roll our carts right through the middle of their kitchen while they're trying to make lunch. I have to thank Hannaford. Hannaford, who has been a partner with this program from day one, which was in 2014. They helped us get this program going. They've been through all the changes. They've supported us. They've given us great bargains. They used to give us the bags till the state decided we couldn't have plastic bags anymore. They have gone out of their way to help order us food, which, as we all know, this year it's not been easy as anybody goes shopping. But they have gone out of their way to make sure that they get what they can in to be able to support the program. We juggle around a bit, but it's worked. It's really, really great. So it's a great program. I love my volunteers. I mean, we could not, with all these people and the volunteers, we could not have this program because we meet every Tuesday. We pack. The more volunteers show up, the quicker we get out of the way. We're in the cafeteria, so it has to be done between breakfast and lunch, and that's the only time we have. And then we've got a driver who picks the totes up and there's a lot of people involved in this program, and so without the support of everybody, we could not run this program. And there was a survey that went home, and a lot of the parents, we did hear back from a lot of the parents, and there are a lot of parents out there that are extremely appreciative and grateful to be able to have this food for their kids for the weekend. So I want to thank everybody again. Now, the last thing I have is Kate and I had an impromptu visit at the Wynnum Middle School with Mr. Howell. This was due to the fact that week after week, folks have been coming in talking about things that have been displayed in the school. So we figured the best way to see is see for yourself. You know, I'm kind of like from Missouri, show me. And I think Mr. Howell put the invite out if anybody wanted to. And we figured impromptu would be better. We didn't want anybody to feel, you know, there was a head notice. Oh, by the way, there's school board members coming in. Take your posters down. So we went after school that day that he sent it out. And I can tell you that, I mean, this was an hour in an empty school. And we went in every hall, we went in the majority of the classrooms, we went in bathrooms, we went in everywhere. And Mrs. Bricks, God bless her, took pictures, almost blew her phone up. We took pictures of every poster we could see that was not basically related to, like in the music room, you know, like music notes and all that. So things that were definitely, we might not have got some of those, but Kate can speak now also because she has the pictures.
Oh, well, I have lived in Missouri, the show me state, so I am very much about seeing for myself, and I can verify that one poster in particular that has been mentioned in public comment repeatedly was not displayed in any way, shape, or form in that building. I have 26 pictures on my phone of hallways and classrooms, and that poster was nowhere to be found. So I just want to make that clear. I don't know what else I can say about that other than I think it's important as a board member that if something is said that is incorrect, that we need to investigate and make sure that we correct it for the public. And that one in particular has been repeated so many times that I just really felt compelled that I had to be in that building. And we literally, as Marge said, walked through every classroom, cafeteria, the hallways, and it wasn't there. So I think it's important to go on record for that, and I'll just leave it at that.
We actually did see some very nice posters, to be perfectly honest with you, you know. I mean, things that you would expect, things that you would definitely expect to see in a school for kids. Nothing derogatory or, anyway, and we did search, let me tell you. So, and that, it's basically, and that's the reason we're bringing it up, is because normally I would never, I mean, I don't. I mean, because I'm in and out of the schools all the time, and I don't doubt Mr. Howell when he says, I don't think that exists, type of thing, whatever, you know. And I've been there, and I don't see that stuff. But as Kate said, it has come up so frequently. It was like, you know, and this, to me, this is a one-shot deal. And we didn't go because we don't trust the staff, and we don't trust, you know, what's going on in the schools or whatever. It's kind of, I wanted to be able to, for us to be able to sit here and say, we went, we saw, it's not there. And that was the basis of why I went. So I'm done. Thank
You're
you.
done?
I am
All
done,
right.
thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Go ahead. No. All right. I was just going to say, once again, congratulations to the graduates. Congratulations to all the retiring staff. Also, congratulations to the Wynnum girls softball team. Congratulations to the players. They had a great season. Came to a disappointing end last night against Biddeford. But one thing that was amazing, the game was at St. Joe's, and I pulled in there, and the line of traffic was unbelievable. And then to go in and try to find a place to sit or stand and be able to see everything was very difficult. It was amazing. I've never seen that many people at a high school game of any sort, really. And they were playing on a field, and right next to that field was the baseball field, and there was another high school regional final or whatever going on there, and the crowd at our softball game was so much bigger. So thank you to everybody in the community that came out for that, to show your support. And then, as Chris mentioned, the lacrosse team is playing right now. Last update I had was Falmouth was winning 2-0 at the end of the third, so here's hoping for a strong fourth quarter for our boys lacrosse team.
Right. Thanks, Pete.
So I've been thinking a lot these last few days about my daughter's first year at Wynnum High School. It's the high school that I went to and graduated from. I won't say what year. And you know, one of my themes since I joined the board last summer is that we need to partner in the education of our children with the families and the staff and the administration. So after her completing this year, I can confidently say that we must do that. As parents, we need to partner with the teachers and the administration to build a good relationship, open lines of communication, and be able to know people on a first name basis, and hopefully we can start talking to people eyeball to eyeball again after all this COVID stuff finally disappears for good, hopefully, or at least people stop being paranoid about it. But also that the RSU needs to understand our changing times, how it affects families and students, and how we're going to support our students moving forward. I have much concern with how the social fabric of this country has been torn, and how it's very much entered our schools. We see it every day, we hear about it to varying degrees. So how are we going to address the care and education of our students moving forward, knowing that there is such strife in our country that is entering the school walls, unfortunately? But the bottom line is we cannot do it as a board, as administrators, as teachers, as parents, without partnering with each other to ensure the success of our students. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I got two quick things. Firstly, the Wynnum High School quiz show semifinals are tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So stay tuned for that. Also, Summerfest is this Saturday, and I know there are a bunch of high school groups that are going to be fundraising with their booths, so definitely make sure to check that out. The juniors or upcoming seniors are going to be selling Shirley Temples, so definitely check out our booth. That's all I have.
Perfect. I just have a few things. First of all, attending graduation with Christine and Chris was a wonderful event. And I want to say a special thank you to Sue Haypenny, who runs the show like a general. And I know she starts way early because I signed the template for the diplomas, I believe, back in October. So she's working all the way through the year, putting together really a magnificent graduation ceremony. I also want to thank Ryan and Phil and Vanessa of the high school, the administrators, working like dogs that day, working like dogs all year, but they too contributed greatly to just a magnificent, magnificent graduation ceremony. It was nice to have all the students together on the floor. Al was there sitting up on the stage as well. And the speeches were great. And so I think we do a bang-up job sending off our graduates, and I'm pretty proud about that. Speaking of graduation, I know it was just an omission, but Chris, Christine, Marge, and I, or maybe you mentioned it already, attended the Katahdin Graduation. And that was, it seems like so long ago.
I know.
Last week? I don't know. But anyway, if you haven't ever been to one of those, it is one of the most moving graduations that you will ever attend. Extremely personal. I think there were maybe 11? Thank you. 11 graduates. Each was spoken about by a staff member that was so personal, it would bring tears to your eyes, honestly. The accomplishments and what they have overcome to get to where they were with graduation. It was just, awe-inspiring. So that was great. And then thirdly, I'd like to thank the citizens of Raymond and Wyndham for coming out and voting for our budget. Supporting us, supporting our students, supporting our staff. I'm immensely grateful for that. So thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Let's jump right to number 10, committee reports. We'll start with finance.
Finance is not met.
Okay. We are going to hear from Mr. Howell on middle school construction. I don't know if there's anything just in general for facilities.
And actually, Bills will probably cover it when we get to the
Okay,
lease.
when we get to
so
those.
I think we're okay.
Okay. Curriculum?
We have not met.
Okay. Adult ed, their graduation is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock in the auditorium. Thank you. And policy, we met on Monday. Chris, Christine, Kate via the notorious Al Zoom thing, Jessica, and I met with 2 nurses, Carrie Jolly from the high school, and Gail White, I have her last name correct, okay, at the middle school, along with Seth Fournier, the SRO, and we also had Detective Sergeant Jason Andrews visit with us to discuss our Narcan. I don't know what it is about
Narcan,
that.
yeah.
Narcan? Okay.
Yeah.
Narcan. The possibility of including a Narcan language in one of our policies. And we currently have policy JLCD, which is administering medication to students, which embedded in that is also administration of medical marijuana. And we got to hear firsthand from two gentlemen who know firsthand what it's like to administer Narcan. And I didn't even know what, I thought it was a needle, and it's not. It's an aerosol. And Seth has one on him at all times, as do all police officers. And it's this little square thing, maybe you know what it looks like. And it's a one-stop push.
Why would I know?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard of Narcan.
Okay. I'm not looking at you. In any event, I was looking at you because you were nodding. Thank you. So we had a really rich discussion with the nurses and the need for perhaps having it on site. Talked about language, talked about standalones, talked about whether it should be embedded in our existing policy. And at the end of the day, we agreed for the policy committee to work on some language and present it back to the folks who attended at our meeting and get their feedback again. So we will be coming, after we do that meet and greet, we'll be coming back to you with a potential first read. Yes?
Have we gotten guidance from like MPA, or not MPA, but MSMA or
Yes.
Drummond Woodson?
Yes. We have templates from them, and it's also an act to permit naloxone, holy moly, possession, prescription, administration, distribution in public and private schools. So this is the impetus for us having this discussion.
All right, so we're not pioneering this.
No, we're not.
It was added in the main statute last year that schools can.
Right. And given social situations that we live in, we thought it was wise to have the discussion.
All right.
Yep.
Have we had events where it would have, okay, good. Thank you for shaking your head no. That would be pretty scary if we had events where we should have had that on hand.
Just the part I'll share, which it was helpful having Detective Sergeant Andrew. There's Andrews and Andrews. It was helpful having him there because he does all of the drug training for Narcan for all the officers, and then Officer Fournier.
Oops.
With the best way to put it is many drugs now are having things added that were never there before, and the trend is kind of working its way across the country. It's not quite made it to us, but I think it's made it to Virginia from the West Coast, and the concern is accidental, because there are some things out there that you just never know that somebody accidentally does something, and just to be prepared with it. But it was added by the legislature last year to give opportunity to schools. We learned a lot. I learned a lot about Narcan and when, and one thing I did learn is that you can give somebody Narcan and it's not going to hurt them if they're, but it's going to help them if something's going on.
So it was a great discussion. And anybody?
I was just going to ask if we were going to add policy. Maybe you can help me understand what the education to the students at the student level might be. I mean, we're doing DARE programs and other things, but certainly having marijuana laced with fentanyl and some other things that kids are very, very much aware of, might be good to understand the education to the adults also, so that they can have family discussions about the dangers, and that seems like that might match up with some of the programming that we're doing and intervention in that area to date. So I would just make that suggestion. That's something to consider if we're going to add policy on it.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? Did I miss any other committee reports? No? Okay, we're going to move on to item 11, middle school construction update, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Howell.
All right, I'm gonna quickly go through some slides. Just some important lessons that I've learned over the past week is that while board members and construction committee has been deeply immersed within work on a new middle school, I don't think necessarily the general public, unless they're watching school board meetings or go to our website, really one of the things we need to look at for the fall is how do we get out more information and progress reports as far as where we are and how things are going, and so it's definitely something that we'll take a look at. We are in the process of building a new middle school. I put up here in the slide for fun, Raymond Wynnum Middle School, or we could call it Wynnum Raymond Middle School, or we could call it Sebago East Shore Middle School. We don't have a name yet. We don't have a name yet, and so it's one thing that we're going to need to look at into the future is what will the name of this new building is. But it was just roughly about a year ago that we were in a board meeting and you folks were taking a vote to select an architect. So it's just been a year, and so this is kind of a progress report of where we are and just kind of a recap, and just also a quick piece for the board and the public as far as where we are in this entire process. Just a reminder to everybody that the whole capital improvement process for building a building in the state construction program, and I know you've all heard me say this again, I hope there's a few public people out there that are watching this. When a community receives the gift of a building, it is a tremendous gift. Bill and I sat through this morning, this afternoon I guess, a presentation for a new elementary school, and it's going to combine 4 elementary schools. It will be a smaller project from ours, and they're estimating somewhere in the $90 million range. So a gift to the community as far as being able to have a facility given what today's construction costs are. But throughout this 21-step process, we just reached step 5, which is kind of zeroing in on a site. And we're going to be jumping here in a little bit into step 6 this summer, which is going to be some considerable environmental testing that need to happen on that site before it can be recommended. I know there was an article that went out in the link last week about where we were in the construction process. At that point, we were looking at a couple sites. The committee at their June 6th meeting, because that was the night where everything was going on, made the decision to start narrowing down to 1. But we are in step 5. We're going to be jumping into step 6, and step 6 is a long process. We probably will not complete step 6 for another 5 or 6 months. And there will be opportunity while we work through this process for the public to weigh in, to give us some information, for us to do some forums, and to do some information sharing with the community. But in this process of determining what the site location is going to be and making sure that's a viable site, once that work is done, and we're absolutely sure where we want this thing to go, then we would go and do a presentation, and that's what Bill and I are invited to today, as a community that's just ahead of us, to go watch their presentation for the state school board to see what type of information they're looking for, because they ultimately approve what the final site is based on the recommendation of you, the RSU 14 board. So just running through some step pieces, which is we're in this process still of determining where the site's going to be, but something we've not had a chance to talk about, and I'm hoping that we can do some informational sessions, but also a board workshop for you in the fall, which is the educational planning portion. What are the programs that we want to offer in this new middle school? What are the team structures that are going to be? We started this process, believe it or not, back in 2018 for programming, and you all had a chance to meet Frank Locker. I think Frank was pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, has done some presentations for the board. Frank has been working with both middle schools and now also bringing in some Manchester staff and determining what is this thing going to look like once we're done, and what are some of the programs that we need to offer. So right now we've provided a lot of information to the architects on that programming piece. They're going off, and right now when they're working on some models and some schematics, what are some general things that you're going to include? What are some general structures? But moving on here, looking throughout the summer, doing some site design, doing some building design, and then still looking at the possibility of a June 23 referendum. There's some possibility that might get pushed back a little bit to maybe fall and do a standalone, or do a November. We'll have to wait and see where we fall in the process. And I think part of why, and I want to say we're behind, but why things have moved a little differently is that we've explored a number of things along the way. So first of all, when we settled on an architect last year, this was the Wynnum Middle School project. We're now a year later, this is the middle school project. And that was a process. In addition, we've had a complete facility study done of all of our elementary schools and to determine what future capacity could be. That was a piece that wasn't even something being discussed, but that was a portion. What's the best grade structure? And we've learned now that probably a 5-8 building is the best way to go. We've also learned that one of our things that we had hoped when we were done was that we would be able to offer universal pre-K. We're going to pick up about 100 more slots. We'll probably have a capacity of 160, but we will not have the capacity for every single person who wants to have pre-K. So Christine, I know, is still looking at some of those public-private options to see can we provide some other options. But so that's another piece that's taken along the way. We are working with a person in the state of Maine who is the only person who does enrollment studies. We've been working on that process for now about a year. Still waiting for our report. I know the person's working on it, but that enrollment study report will ultimately dictate, is this a building being built for 1,100 students, 1,000 students, 1,200 students? Helping us determine, because for the state formula, they will build an enrollment plus 5%. Anything over that, then that's something we'd be taking a look at what is a local only cost. So what we want to make sure of is that we have the correct numbers, and right now we're projected at about 1,060 for enrollment for kids that are sitting in seats right now, based upon some of the numbers that we know. So along this journey, and this was, I think, the Raymond Select Board had this discussion with some input back in October. They came together, made a vote to say they made the recommendation they thought it would be best for Raymond to have Jordan Small go ahead and join Wynnum Middle School to become a single building. A piece of information that came to us, I'm going to go here, a piece of information that came to us through this process is that the state ran the numbers for us and determined that regardless of the outcome for what the board decided or for what the Raymond Select Board suggested, Raymond would be paying a portion of this building based on the state funding formula. And so that was another additional piece of information that was done. So on November 17th, this is the board motion that you did. So to authorize the superintendent accept the Maine Department of Education construction team to partner with the district developing a new consolidated middle school. So already the school in which the State of Maine Construction Office had budgeted for as a 6-8 building has now become a 5-8 building, has now become a consolidated 5-8 building. So it's gone from a population of roughly 650 to 700 to now a population of a little over 1,050, 1,075. So population's grown, which also means now the expense has grown, which also means the square footage has grown, because in the state model, roughly about 170 square feet per student is what's allocated in the building as a state-supported cost. So the board went through this in November for the construction bond, goes to the state formula. And then if there's an additional things that go above and beyond, and the committee has talked about a performing arts space there. They've also looked at some additional physical education, possibility of a walking track and other pieces. Any of those additional costs would fall underneath the state funding formula. In addition, they're looking at library size, cafeteria size, just to make sure that everything's going to work for us. Site selection. Quite a process. We started site selection as the committee, I want to say back in October, November, started working through the process. We looked at 35-acre sites in Wynnum and Raymond. I think we ended up with 109, if I remember correctly, possible sites, and really started to narrow down. We put out advertisements. We took a look at the existing site, which adding 1,100 more students, let's call it that, to an existing site, the traffic would be unmanageable, plus athletic fields. I looked in Wynnum and Raymond. We looked at where our families located, and then we worked on the infamous matrix. And I'm not going to read down through these, but Committee worked through weighting all sorts of different pieces. One thing that we learned today, and Bill and I had a chance to read through the application, quite a bit of the application, there is an emphasis on the infrastructure. So things like sewer, utilities, access to public water. Those things are highly regarded by the State Construction Committee for making sure that those things are connected. What was also interesting today is the school is in the Fairfield area, and Fairfield has been in the news quite a bit for PFAS issues with considerable amount of contamination. So that building is actually going to be in Benton, and they've tested the site. They've not found anything. So we've gone through this process of going through. That was the map of everything we looked at, all the different sites. Everything that's in pink on that map is south of Wynnum High School. Everything that's north of that, and all the blue, is between the Jordan Small Raymond Elementary campus and Wynnum High School. And so we then narrowed everything down to, if we're going to be a joint thing, we need to be somewhere in that corridor. And that's just another highlight that's there. We then took out some different sites that, I kind of go ahead here. Possible sites that kind of rose to the top. The existing site, these are the scores that were given. 61 Wynnum Center Road, which is down from central office and the high school. We looked at the Manchester School site because we have 23 acres that are there. We looked at Patricia Ave, Raymond Elementary School, where there's 25 acres. Bedrock Terrace, that is Enterprise Drive by the capped landfill. It's also where the marijuana grows are licensed in Wyndham. We looked at White's Bridge Road, that piece of property that's for sale next to Seacoast, which is a giant hill. We looked at a piece of property that was kind of an odd shape on Webb's Mills Road by where the power lines cross when you first turn on after Good Life. And then we also looked at 812 Gray Road. And we started to narrow. We worked down, and we were down to 3 sites, which are 61 Wynnum Center, Patricia, 812. Those are the final pieces. We started doing some test fits for locations. So 61 Wynnum Center, 812, we did a later test fit. And then there was the test fit for Patricia Ave. And it was in March, where Patricia Ave was removed off the list. Super tight site to develop. But a couple things that were concerns. There's an existing landfill that's there, so some future liability pieces. In order to access that site to even be ADA accessible, we would have had to gone through 3 different other properties. There are 2 wonderful vernal pools, which the salamanders and the frogs like. But when you draw 250-foot circles around those pools, it then starts to limit, and then some development costs. So in March, Patricia Ave was removed off, and 61 Wynnum Center, and this is, I think, the most recent update for all of you. Recommendation was made for 61 Wynnum Center and for 812 Gray Road, which is 202 and 115 towards Gray, for some initial vernal pool studies, which took place in April and May, and then also looking at some initial environmental assessments. And so for 61 Wynnum Center, nothing new came out of it. The area in green that you see on there, and board members, you've got it close in your packet, and if anyone in the public's watching, you can see this on our website. Area in green are areas that we need to stay away from. Those are known areas for the Army Corps of Engineers. They're considered to be significant wetlands, Bill?
Wetlands of significant interest, yes.
Wetlands of significant interest. And the ones in blue are ones that we can do some wetlands management and do some building and some mitigation on. So no great surprises on the site. Of the 45 acres, I think we have 28 developable acres without any issues. 812 Gray Road, which is a beautiful site with the fields and such, but one thing that we learned through the process when we started to do some, Stantec did it, started putting some test fits. The amount of wetlands and the shape of the property, I don't know if I included a picture of it, made it very, very difficult to develop as a school site. In addition, this would require extension of public water, extension of utilities. It does not have sewer, never will have sewer. And so the committee made the decision for the next step, which is we go into what's environmental 2, which is all the geotechnical work plus archaeological work. I'm trying to think of some of the other components. Inland fisheries and wildlife now starts to take a look. The next phase of the project's about $250,000. And so to take a look at, if this is not a viable site, then we need to hold off. I will just say that the landowner at 812 has been fantastic to work with. If issues arise with 61 Wynnum Center, that owner has said absolutely we can go back for consideration on that site. But they have been fantastic to work with and just letting us go through, explore his property, and to determine where we're at. So I'm going to go on to a programming piece, which is, so site selection, we're down to one. I'll talk about next steps here in a second. Programming piece, we started our first programming discussion for a new middle school in August of 2019. So August of 20, we've been working on the programming piece now for about 3 years. And it's been interesting. It's been great, and it's been a great way to bring in staff from Wynnum Middle School and Jordan Small, who both have a very similar passion for project-based learning, who both have a similar passion for small learning communities where neighborhoods are developed and you take a big school and you start to make it smaller. Together, they created this diagrammatic piece, which is each one of the little satellite bubbles. And this is a diagram schematic. It's not what a building's going to look like. But to take a look at that, you have self-sufficient little pods that are working that have core teachers, plus looking to integrate the applied arts. All of those around some sort of a central commons place that would be your cafeteria and your library. In addition, some sort of a connection with an auditorium and a stage. And in addition with a gym, and I think this building is actually large enough to support, it will have 2 gyms, possibly a third activity area, based on what we have for current programming for the space. So a lot of possibilities there for how do you bring all these things together. The test fit school that we've been using on sites, or on the site, is right now the bottom story is 110,000 square feet. That's the test size building that they're having us there. 110,000 square feet is what, 2.5 acres, almost 3 acres. And that would just be first floor. So we're looking at a multi-story. The reason they had to do 110 is they just want to make sure that even if you did a sprawling building, and we're not going to do something that's sprawling, they want to make sure it's just going to fit on the site, that we actually have some reasonable things. Other pieces that we're working on right now, this is the programming matrix, and things on there such as, you have a principal, how many square feet do you put for principal's office? How many people are going to be meeting with the principal? Assistant principal, how many assistant principals are you going to have? How many people are going to be meeting? How many guidance counselors? And going through for every single position, because ultimately what this yields is you start applying square footage, and I think right now where we're at for square footage is 240,000 square feet for if you put all of our programs together. And the way the formula works is they figure out what do you need for spaces, and they add an additional 0.4, so you multiply it times 1.4. And that 0.4 are things like janitorial closets, bathrooms, hallways, all these other pieces that are non-programmatic but need to be part of a building. So we're in this negotiation phase because the state is saying the largest building we've done is right around 175 square feet per student. You're at 240,000 square feet. It becomes a negotiation because once this particular document is agreed upon, then this then goes to determining the concept design for the building, and then ultimately gets you to your square footage. Once we come to an agreement on what the square footage is, then it will give us a better idea of what square footage will be paid for through the program, and then what additional square footage will we need to take care of. I will tell you, just through the conversations that we've had, an auditorium, they will pay for a stage. won't pay for the place where people sit. So if that's something that you would like, and the reason behind it is that some schools will do a gymatorium, cafetorium, where they'll have a stage attached to a gym. If you want to do something separate performance, that's great. We'll pay for the stage part, but we won't do the other component. Things like a greenhouse. We have existing greenhouses that are working at Manchester now and Jordan Small. We don't have anything at Wynnum Middle. That's an existing educational program. Can we get a greenhouse? Can we include that as part of the program? We'll have 5th grade here, playground, hardscape, those types of things to be able to consider some of that. So we're working through this negotiation phase. I have been impressed with our architects, LaValle Brendinger. They've been through this negotiation phase a number of times and have worked on creative solutions and ways to support buildings to get some of the things that they want and to compromise. One of the things that we've been very clear about is that we don't want to get into a building and find out it's undersized. I know it's a local community ran into that and immediately had to do an addition. We don't want to go down that road. So that part's been an interesting process. Just kind of our next steps. There's a document, the Department of Education, and it's more of a philosophical document, which is called the Educational Specifications. We have a draft that Peter and Drew and Randy have all been working on. Actually, I think we're meeting tomorrow to go through some components of that just to see where we are. That's part of our submission. We're working on that programming space allocation piece. So our science room's 1,200 square feet or they're 900 square feet. The state has a formula. We have our component where we want to include some things, and so we're negotiating back and forth. In addition, in July, Phase 2 environmental work at 61 Wynnum Center. We've been in contact with the landowner. This will include many, many borings. So a machine will come in, depth of bedrock, soil surveys to determine what is there. Will it be suitable for foundations? What type of foundations need to be planned for? In addition, are there additional wetlands that we don't know about? Inland fisheries, wildlife will come through and they will look for endangered species. And in addition, we'll have the Army Corps of Engineers will have to do a review of the site. And then there's also an archaeological review to see if there's anything of significant importance that was ever built on that site to make sure that we're not disturbing something. And then also we will try to look for, as part of this process, are there other environmental contaminants that we just don't know about to make sure that it's a clean site. Some really good things about 61 Wynnum Center that other sites didn't have with the passing now of the sewer project. There's now a great chance of getting sewer to the site, which then changes development because now we're not trying to program for a large leach field. I say program, plan in for a large leach field. We have 3-phase power that's in the vicinity. It's not a long run there. There's an 8-inch main that runs down either River Road and Wynnum Center, might actually run down both. So we have significant water that's there enough to support a building. So some processes that are going on. But again, I know there's some discussions that need to happen. There'll be additional opportunities for the public to weigh in on this. But things continue to move forward, and we'll have the opportunity to bring this back to the board and give another progress update probably in early September, and then start talking about straw poll community forums on the site, and then some additional information. And we might have some additional work that, as far as results from this. In addition, we have ordered 2 appraisals on the property because the state will pay the average of the 2 appraisals. And again, it was interesting today, 23 acres in Benton is $96,000. 23 acres in Wynnum Arraignment is not $96,000. Morse High School was $16 million before they actually put a shovel to dirt.
Oh my gosh.
In site development. So that property was on the market, 61 Wynnum Center, for $1.5 million. So just letting the people know where we stand with that. So we'll know appraisals at the end of August. Go ahead, Mark.
only while you're still at that one, I wanted to ask something. If the state comes back with a figure that is not what the seller is asking for, what happens then?
If it's greater or less than?
Less. I'm not worried about the greater. The greater we're covered. I'm worried about the less.
If it's less than, then it would become a local only cost.
Okay.
Anything else? Anything else?
No, before he went past it, that's right.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I want to go back to programming. I attended the Frank Locker, the very first one. I don't know if that was the August gig or not, which was really interesting. But I know since that time that staff has met with Frank Locker throughout this year or whatever. And one thing that struck me in the August gig that I attended was the forward thinking that Frank had about what education might look like, not now, but in the future, and how that would impact this building. And I'm wondering, and I know there's been work, I wonder if there's any way we could get a report out. I'm very interested in what the future might look like for education and what they've come up with. And I don't know what that presentation looks like, but I know some work has been done on that, and I think the public might be interested as well to know what's the future and why is this building conforming to those thoughts. So,
yeah, and I think that would be a great September presentation to talk through what some of the modeling that looks, because that's been one piece that I think has been going through the back of everybody's head, is that this is a 50-year building.
Right.
None of us are going to be around when the next group goes to do this, except for you, Al. None of us are going to be around when the next round of this happens, and so we want to make sure that this building is as flexible as possible,
right,
so that it can accommodate. And we also want to make sure that kids, when they're here, that it's also lining up the strategic plan specifically with student engagement, core belief 3. We want to make sure that this is this is where kids want to come, they want to work, they're heavily engaged in projects, and we want to make sure that this can support it. So it may look a little messy. We want to make sure that spaces can accommodate that, and that this becomes a productive place that's flexible for students. And Frank did give some great ideas to teachers about ways to possibly structure this. I know both middle schools, Randy did some piloting this year with having Jed Bloom, and I think Jed was actually at a board meeting playing through that. Jed came and actually talked about some of his project pieces when Randy was here, and talked about how he integrated in. So both buildings try to figure out how do you go ahead and how do you scale that up.
Right.
How do you go ahead and scale that up?
Well, I would love a presentation in the fall. Yeah.
Just wanted to ask that one thing that was clear to me in the principal reports over the last year was really how dynamic the way the programming is done from school to school. And some of the conversations that I've had with some of peers and parents asking is, you know, what can I expect? And it goes right to what you were just saying, but really getting a little bit closer to the family and to the parent that can say, I'm used to being, in our case, in Raymond. What can I expect differently? Very similar conversation with the withdrawal. You know, what could I expect if I was going to stay in Raymond versus staying as an RSU? And I think that following through with that sort of impact statement, just really clear with that same presentation about what's in it for the family and what's in it for those students, maybe compared to current programming very simply, but also just the opportunity for participating in the building. What does that look like? Because I think part of what we're seeing today is just a very topical conversation about transportation times, how long my kids are going to be on the bus, and there's a lot of negatives depending on where you live. And I know parents and families are looking at making physical moves of their family in advance of this. And some of that information could thwart a family literally from moving out of the district, you know, from not going up to Poland or Casco for middle school. And that information would be really helpful to say, hey, if we can give some real granularity to what the literal benefits would be. I'm not sure how that comes to be, but I'd love to see that included, because that's the information I could pass on and have conversations about.
In past conversations, it's been said that Wynnum Middle School and Jordan Small would be turned back to the towns, the respective towns. Is there any opportunity for the RSU to retain one building or both?
Possibly.
Okay.
Or partner.
Okay. So, you know, I've listened to Marge at meetings talk about the Hvac schools and how crowded they are, and how there's such long waiting lists for Hvac classroom space and opportunities. And, you know, you turn on the TV at any time, or you go on social media, and it talks about the shortage of plumbers and welders and truck drivers and all of those Hvac professions that frankly can pay double right from day one out of school that a college degree can get a student. So I'm wondering, just ruminating around in my head, if we were to able to, let's say, keep Jordan Small, as I understand it, a lot of work has been put into the building in recent years, new roof and all that fun stuff. Raymond is the center of Cumberland County. Could it prove to be a revenue generator if we opened a Hvac school in the RSU that other communities could send students to and pay us to teach them?
I'd have to do some research on vocational regions and how those get assigned. Something that Bill's going to talk about here in a second is there's a number of constraints with the Jordan Small site. Utilities is the big one. Utilities are the big one. So I think the thing that's been going through my head is, are there possible spaces we can use for, and it's something that was a theme throughout budget, alternative education, and meeting kids' needs in an alternative way. And the other thing is also, how do we support adults? And I think some of the things that are training programs through adult education, and how do we use some of our spaces and labs for things like that, and how to do that up. I would need to figure out, and I'm just curious, I'll ask the question about regional vocational centers and how that gets allocated.
Because it's definitely needed, and it's going to be needed more in the future than it even is today, and could definitely help offset the tax burden for residents if it proves to be a revenue generator. Just a thought.
Anybody else? Questions? Thank you. It was very helpful. We're going to move on to item 12, appointments. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the following appointments for the 2022-2023 school year. Katie Capoferri, grade 1 teacher, Wyndham Primary School, BA4, salary of $47,273.32. And I'm going to apologize right now if I really mess your names up. Rebecca Cuniff, grade 2 teacher, Wyndham Primary School, bachelor, step 1, salary $43,885.26. Kristen Below, kindergarten teacher, Wyndham Primary School, bachelor, step 6, salary $50,426.84. Catherine Dennis, grade 4 teacher, Manchester, bachelor, step 5, salary $48,850.61. Catherine Phelps, special education teacher, Wyndham Primary School, master's, step 5, salary $52,698.82. Crystal Turner, grade 3 teacher, Wyndham Primary School, master's, step 0, salary $45,575.67. Sienna Tinsley, library specialist, Wyndham Middle School, master's, step 1, salary $46,663.09. Rich Meserve, alternative education teacher, Wyndham Middle School, master's, step 23, salary $73,468.59. Mary Saborin, grade 2 teacher, Wyndham Primary School, Bachelor Step 1, salary $43,885.26. Ellen Walker, grade 1 teacher, Wyndham Primary School, Bachelor Step 0, $42,770.65. Leanna Farr, grade 4 teacher, Manchester, Bachelor Step 1, salary $43,885.26. Leah Douglas, 3/5 English teacher, Wyndham High School, Bachelor Step 8, salary $94.60. Megan Dubois, special education teacher, Wyndham Primary School, Master Step 8, salary $57,428.58. April Benak, grade 5 teacher, Jordan Small Middle School, Master Step 0, salary $45,575.67. Ashley Tempesta, school counselor, Wyndham High School, Katahdin, Bachelor Step 1, salary $43,885.26. Hillary Chase, math teacher, Wyndham High School, Master Step 20, salary $71,021.36. Savannah Wright, music teacher, Wyndham Primary School, Bachelor Step 6, salary $50,426.84. Matthew Legrand, music band teacher, Jordan Small Middle School, Bachelor Step 0, $42,770.65. Susanna Stevens, technology instructional leader, district, Master Step 10, salary $63,910.78.
Second.
Thank you. Before we go into any comment, if you would be so kind as to give a little rundown on who's going to be new and who is replacement and all that good stuff.
All right, I'm going to do my best here.
All right.
I'm going to do my best. So starting the technology instructional leader, that is a position that was approved in the budget yesterday. The music band teacher at Jordan Small, that is replacing Alex, who is leaving the district and heading to grad school in Arizona. Savannah Wright, that is the new Nancy Cash Cobb. Hillary Chase, I believe she is the new Sylvia Most, who is leaving Wyndham High School to go to Old Orchard. Ashley Tempesta, that was a position that was new in the budget this year. It was actually an ed tech position that we used some ESSER money then to bring it to a school counselor. The grade 5 teacher, that's a new position in the budget. The special education teacher, I believe that's a replacement. The 3/5 English teacher's replacement. The grade 4 teacher, that is a replacement. Going back to the other side, and this is, I'm going to hit the Wyndham Middle School one for the alternative education teacher. Rich Meserve is going to be coming back to us. Rich was the principal at the Katahdin program, and Wyndham Middle School and Jordan Small and actually Wyndham High School has been working on alternative programming options, and so increasing class size a little bit, pulling some students out, working on an alternative program. In fact, that's another thing I'd love to in the fall, be able to do a presentation on that. Sienna Tinsley is a replacement for the library specialist. Special education teacher is replacing someone who's then going to be moving up to RES. The grade 4 teacher, that is a replacement. And then I'm just going to run down the Wyndham Primary School because different people in different positions. We have one person who's leaving who is no longer going to be teaching, and we have a retirement. I think we are up to 3 maternity leaves. So we have 1 year where people are taking leave of absence. We also have an individual who has been extended an additional year through the MLTI program as a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Helping to do some distance learning things at the state level. And we have one other replacement, and I'm not sure who is in what seat for maternity and covering 1 years and all of that, but
well done. Well done. Any public comment or discussion?
Can I just add one thing, Kate?
Sure.
Just so, and I'm not sure the public knows or even the board, I meet with everybody. when the principals go ahead and make the recommendation, I meet with all the new teachers before an offer is given. So it's a great opportunity. We have some fantastic people that are leaving us. We have some fantastic people that also will be joining us. And so we've got some great individuals and some great talent that we've been able to pull in.
Perfect. Anybody on the board? No?
Just a quickie question. How many names did I slaughter? Seeing as you meant
Want to go to the vote?
No. I know. No, go ahead.
Are we ready? Okay.
We have to do a roll call.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yep.
right.
We're going to have to do a roll call. Kate Bricks?
Yes.
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Jenny Butler?
Yes.
Marge Gavoni?
Yes.
Pete Hensler?
Aye.
Char Jewell?
Yes.
Kate Levier?
Yes.
Let's see here. Jody Carroll?
Yes.
Did I get everybody?
I think so.
Okay. Just want to make sure because I get skipped over Scott.
Perfect. Okay, item 13. Motion, please.
I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to grant second-year probationary status for the 2022-2023 school year to the teachers listed here. Margaret Dion, special education teacher, Wynnum Middle School.
Second.
Public comment? Board discussion? All those in favor?
Kate Bricks?
It's such a habit. Yes.
I know.
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Jenny Butler?
Yes.
Marge Gavoni?
Yes.
Pete Hensler?
Aye.
Char Jewell?
Yes.
Kate Levier?
Yes.
Jody Carroll?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 14.
I move to vote that the computation and declaration of votes dated and attached hereto be and is hereby approved. Further, that the computation and declaration of votes be entered upon the records of the Regional School Unit 14, the Regional School Unit. Further, a certified copy of the computation and declaration of votes be sent to each of the municipal clerks within the Regional School Unit.
Second.
Public comment? Board discussion? Roll call?
I was going to read the vote totals. 2,051 for, 718 against.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Kate Bricks?
Yes.
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Jenny Butler?
Yes.
Marge Gavoni?
Yes.
Pete Hensler?
Aye.
Char Jewell?
Yes.
Kate Levier?
Yes.
Jody Carroll?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 15.
I move that the warrant for assessment of tax and the assessment schedule and notice of installments for each member municipality prepared by the treasurer for fiscal year July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023 be approved and be issued in form presented to this meeting, and that the treasurer be authorized and directed to deliver to each member municipality its warrant for assessment of tax and its assessment schedule and notice of installments.
Second.
Public comment? Seeing none. Board discussion? Is there anything you want to read, or you're all set? Okay. Roll call?
Kate Bricks?
Yes.
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Jenny Butler?
Yes.
Marge Gavoni?
Yes.
Pete Hensler?
Aye.
Char Jewell?
Yes.
Kate Levier?
Yes.
Jody Carroll?
Yes.
Thank you. We're on item 16.
I move to award the installation contract for the ADA upgrade to the Wynnum Primary School fire alarm system to John Wolf Electric LLC of Wynnum, Maine as the low responsible bidder in the amount of $89,991.64.
Second.
Thank you. Public comment? Seeing none. Board discussion? Any?
Question.
Yes.
Does it have a period after the 89 instead of a comma? So it says like, let's just notice that.
It was red eagle.
Very good. Very good. All those in favor?
Kate Bricks?
Yes.
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Jenny Butler?
Yes.
Marge Gavoni?
Yes.
Pete Hensler?
Aye.
Char Jewell?
Yes.
Kate Levier?
Yes.
Jody Carroll?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 17.
I move to move forward to enter into contract with Mechanical Services of Portland, Maine in the amount up to $910,945.50 to install an HVAC system and to complete the scope of work.
Second.
Thank you. Mouthful. Public comments, seeing none, board discussion. If we could have Mr. Hanson, Director of Facilities, knowledgeable of all things facilities. If you could share a bit about this, please.
Sure. Good evening, Bill Hanson, Director of Facilities Arts. So, about 2 years ago, we applied for ESSER funding to look at improving ventilation in our schools. And COVID hit, and we learned an awful lot about, ASHRAE came out with some recommendations to improve ventilation rates, to improve filtration, is key things to improve the indoor air quality in the buildings. So this work is an extension of that. At the time, we identified the primary school as having the two systems that serve the gym and the cafeteria are original circa 1987 systems that are run. So mechanical systems generally have a guideline life of 20 to 25 years. So my math's pretty good. I'm pretty certain if you add 20, 25 to 87, it doesn't get us to 2022. Key thing to know too, this equipment is for install first next year, 2023. Because we can't even get the equipment until then we order. It's about a 10-month lead time. That's why this is coming to the board now. It's all for work for next year. So what this improvement does to the building, it replaces those two air handlers so we can add energy recovery, which allows us to bring in more outside air regardless pretty much of the temperature outside. It improves the filtration to MERV 14, which is the recommended level. Actually 13 is recommended, so we're actually one step above that, which is even better. And it also brings more higher efficiency to the building. So our cooling system will be more efficient. That is there as well. So when we're done, the entire building will have air conditioning, high level filtration, and energy efficient systems with air heat recovery. So it brings that building up to really a good place for us going forward to meet those recommendations that ASHRAE put back out at the beginning of COVID.
I have a question.
Yep.
We're entering into a contract with Mechanical Services of Portland. There's a note here that Municipal Leasing Consultants was the lowest responsible bidder. Can you just make sense of that?
That should actually be put down to the next number 2.
All right, that's what I was confused about. All right, so that goes with the next thing. All right.
So the good news when we're done this project, the mechanical systems in the primary school will basically all be new. So again, that puts us at a 20-year window of not having to deal with it again in the future. And they'll all meet the new energy code and provide that extra air that we're looking for. So that's what this upgrade does for us. Remember, we're spending, that's a lot of money, but there's almost 100,000 square foot of building you're dealing with there that you're improving. So it's a lot of money, but it's over a large area. So.
Thank you, Bill.
Good.
Sure.
Just a quick comment. I will say I've been in that school many, many days, and this will be something they will be very happy to get because you roast in there. It is so hot.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Just a quick question in the notes that were sent on fiscal year 24. It's a big jump between what we were able to put in the budget this year at 40K versus the 128. Is that going to be difficult for your team to facilitate for the fiscal year 24 budget? Maybe it's an inappropriate question. I just was looking. It seemed like there's some assurity that the 128 was going to be able to fit into 24.
So there's two things for that. Thank you for bringing that up. So the estimated lease payment that I put together at 4% was around $93,000. It's actually a little bit less than that because I think that the financing rate was less, which is good. The 128 is the money we need for contingency and some other engineering work. I'm hoping we don't spend all that, but that would be coming, we'd be moving that money from the plan would be to fund that through the capital reserve that we typically transfer each year. So the real budget impact for the operating budget would be moving from the 40,000 budgeted up to the lease amount. That would really be the portion that would impact the operating budget, where the rest would come from the capital reserve.
So we'd see a 53 $3,000
Right.
increase approximately.
Yeah.
Following
Or a
year.
saving somewhere else that we can then use to offset it.
Sure, okay.
So what I have seen is that areas where we have the energy, the heat recovery systems, is that our utility bills drop. I'm not going to tell you we're going to save all 50, but if we want to ventilate in those times when we're in a design day when it's 5 below zero, we're able to continue to do that, and we're not heating the air as much because we're grabbing energy from the air we're exhausting. That's really the big change we'll have. So when we're done with this, is all of those systems, as we're bringing it out, getting the old air out that has the CO2 that's been used. It's being used to preheat the air that's coming in from the outside. So that's a pretty significant savings. We're heating that air from probably 50 degrees to 70 as opposed to -5 to 70. So it's a huge improvement. So we'll see some savings.
The AC is can you quantify the power difference? I mean, they're going to be more energy efficient. They're upgrades, correct? There's already
Correct.
AC there.
So the AC that's in the A, B, and C house was put in 2002. So a lot has been changed in efficiencies of air conditioning from 2002 to today. It's been driven by efficiency standards that keep being pushed out each year. So that'll be one thing. The other thing that hurts us is that is we're trying to air condition that portion of the building. The back wing, what I call the D wing, and the cafeteria are not. So I'm bringing in fresh air that's hot and humid. And now I'm trying to cool, and it mixes over time. It's a big open building, so it fights itself the whole time, all day. So if you're in the cafeteria, you're hot, and you start to walk towards A house, it starts to feel cooler, but that hot air does come up into that space. So that problem will be gone as well, because we'll have energy recovery in the entire building. So air that we bring in for the cafeteria will be conditioned just the same as the rest of it, and won't be causing that issue. So I don't have exact numbers for you. I certainly can work towards it, but I do know that the efficiencies each year by mandate are required to be higher because of the efficiencies that the government's putting on all this equipment.
I was thinking about Raymond Elementary as you looked at sort of the pushing that one out because of three-phase power. I was thinking to myself, it'd be great to get it in there, obviously for comfort, and I think that would be the only building without AC in the region. And I was just thinking to myself, what is the impact of the utility when you add something like that in addition to looking at renovating for power plus? But really, that building, Raymond's also, it's a hot box upstairs for those grade 2 to 4 kids.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So we have met with CMP, and we have ESSER funds available to upgrade the HVAC at Raymond Elementary School. It is on our plan. The first thing I need to do is I need to upgrade the power from single phase to 3-phase. Basically, all this AC equipment runs on 3-phase equipment to be efficient. Now, I could do it in single phase. It would be really ugly, because what I'd have would be 34 to 45-ton compressors sitting on the roof. It would look like we have I don't know, but it would just, imagine trying to maintain all that equipment, and I'd still have to bring another single-phase service in because I don't have enough power on that one leg to do that. So the plan is, CMP is supposed to get us an estimate. The plan would be to, with the board approval, obviously, to upgrade 3-phase next summer, and then launch the project to do the energy recovery and the HVAC upgrade for the summer after that. That would be the long-term plan that I hope we can work towards, and that would upgrade that HVAC too. Which, remember I said 20 years? That stuff was all put in 1999. So now you're at beyond that 20-year window. Okay, so it kind of makes sense, and when we're done the process, high school would fall after that, but that's 2005, that's relatively new. Manchester would be new if we approved upgrades tonight. Primary would be new, RES would be new. So we'd really be in a good place from a mechanical standpoint, and just so people understand that the mechanical system is the lungs of the building that provide that fresh air and condition the space for people to be in. So it's really important. I think we learned during COVID, it's even more important that we understand how that operates. And they talk about indoor air quality, but it's also indoor environmental quality is what they talk about. So it's lighting, it's temperature swings, it's all that part that helps make that environment be less of a distraction from the educational folks, so they can really focus on what they're doing there. So they're not hot, they're not cold, it's not stuffy, it's not stinky. All those things that can happen if you don't have a really well ventilated building. So RES is on the plan, and yes, we had to 2 years ago close the building now because we reached heat index on that second floor that was too high.
Yeah.
And we're doing some work right now with some small portable air conditioners in there to make it tolerable. Fortunately, this year we had a really kind of cool spring, so it wasn't a problem, but we are aware of it.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions? Mr. Hill?
Kate Bricks,
Yes?
Jessica Bridges,
Yes.
Jenny Butler,
Yes. Sorry.
Marge Cavoni,
Yes.
Pete Hensler,
Aye.
Char Jewel,
Yes.
Kate Levier,
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Yes.
Number 2 of this.
All right, I move to authorize the superintendent to enter into the financing agreement for the lease purchase of the awarded bid for an HVAC system upgrade at Wynnum Primary School through Municipal Leasing Consultants in the amount of $910,945.50 at 3.452% interest, amortized over 10 years at an annual cost of $90,965.05, should that be in the best interest of the district pursuant to 20A MRSA subsection 4001-3 in the format presented. Note, Municipal Leasing Consultants was the lowest responsible bidder.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment, Mr. Hanson? No?
Oh, good.
Board comment? All those in favor? Roll call, please.
Kate Bricks,
I caught myself. Yes.
Jessica Bridges,
Yes.
Jenny Butler,
Yes.
Marge Cavoni,
Yes.
Pete Hensler,
Aye.
Char Jewel,
Yes.
Kate Levier,
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Yes.
Item number, what are we on? 18, please.
I move to move forward to enter into contract with Mechanical Services of Portland, Maine in the amount up to $1,554,332.90 to install a HVAC system and to complete the scope of work.
Second.
Mr. Hanson?
Okay, so this is a bigger project. Obviously, the number's higher, and why is that? So, at Manchester right now, we have 4 rooftop air handlers that are providing just filtered air to the space, filtered heated air. Okay, they are not capable of being upgraded to MERV 13 filters or 14 to have the airflow that we need. They don't have energy recovery, so we struggle during really cold days to provide enough fresh air without the temperature being too low. So they're at a point where, and also they were brand new in 2000, so again, they reached that horizon of 20 to 25 years during that time frame. So again, we did have some extra money we put it towards this problem. The cafeteria unit, which is there as well, the 5th unit, is circa when the building was built, so it's 1970 vintage or so when the original building was built. So if you're in the cafeteria and it's feeling stuffy, well, there's reason for it. That's things have changed. So what this does is puts state-of-the-art units on the roof that have energy recovery, so they're able to heat the incoming air with the exhausted air or cool it if you're heating or cooling. It has air conditioning, so the entire building would be air conditioned, and it has the MERV 14 filters in it, so that we would be at or above the standard that's set by ASHRAE. So again, it positions us very nicely for the future to have a building that has a really good environment for educators and kids to be in.
Terrific. Anybody? No?
Kate Bricks,
Yes?
Jessica Bridges,
Yes.
Jenny Butler,
Yes.
Marge Cavoni,
Yes.
Pete Hensler,
Aye.
Char Jewel,
Yes.
Kate Levier,
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Yes.
Part 2.
I move to authorize the superintendent to enter into the financing agreement for the lease purchase of the awarded bid for an HVAC system upgrade at Manchester Elementary School through Municipal Leasing Consultants in the amount of $1,554,332.90 at 3.426% interest, amortized over 10 years at an annual cost of $155,303.79. Should that be in the best interest of the district pursuant to 20A MRSA subsection 4001-3 in the format presented.
Second.
Any board discussion?
I just would clarify the same rule would apply here for the $159,000 lease payment. So the delta would be about 111-ish between 270 and the 159 for the 24 budget.
The 270 is actually the one-time payment, I believe in that. Let me just look at that again.
Okay.
Okay. Joys of getting old, I'll be able to read here. Okay. All right, so the 270 is going to come from local funding. It covers the contingency, the controls, and the engineering. So that's a one-time cost. So the estimated lease payment, when I looked at 4%, was 159, and there's 100 that was budgeted, so it's a $59,000 delta on the budget.
Okay, so a little different than the last one.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The contingency is higher because the dollar value of the project is quite a bit bigger. So the hopeful thing is that the plan is to put this into a reserve for HVAC improvements, and if we don't spend the contingency, and hopefully we don't, that we can roll that into the project up in Raymond. That's what we'd like to try to do. So it would be an HVAC improvement capital reserve. Again, that's all going to be contingent upon the board approving that and the voters approving it. But that would be the way we would move towards that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Hill?
Kate Bricks.
Yes.
Jessica Bridges.
Yes.
Jenny Butler.
Yes.
Marge Gavoni.
Yes.
Pete Hensler.
Aye.
Char Jewell.
Yes.
Kate Levier.
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Yes. Item 19.
I move that the vote entitled Vote to Authorize Lease Purchase of Technology Equipment in the principal amount of wait a minute. Is it 8 million? There's too many numbers.
Oh, yeah, wait.
Is it 8 million?
Yeah.
Okay. 8 million.
Nope.
Nope.
No.
There's too many numbers.
There's just too many numbers.
Well, yeah, there's too many digits.
How many? What?
The 5 after the 3 should not be there. If you look
Correct.
down at the next,
Right.
if you look down at number 2, gives you the right amount.
Okay, I'm set. 800, I was like, whoa, $859,431.50 be approved in the format presented to this meeting.
Second.
Any public comment, board discussion?
So this is just authorizing to spend the money that was approved in the budget
Correct.
for the technology. All right, perfect.
We've held off on the order until the budget passed.
Okay.
Perfect. Mr. Hill?
Kate Bricks.
Yes.
Jessica Bridges.
Yes.
Jenny Butler.
Yes.
Marge Gavoni.
Yes.
Pete Hensler.
Aye.
Char Jewell.
Yes.
Kate Levier.
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Yes. Thank you. Part 2?
I vote to authorize the superintendent to enter into the financing agreement for the lease purchase of the awarded bid for 777 MacBook Air computers and equipment through Apple Financial Services for $859,431.50 at 0% interest pursuant to 20-A MR.
You missed the line.
What? Oh, I'm sorry, interest amortized over 4 years at an annual cost of $214,857.88. Should that be in the best interest of the district pursuant to 20-A MRSA subsection 5401 15C in the format presented.
Second.
Board discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Hill?
Kate Bricks.
Yes.
Jessica Bridges.
Yes.
Jenny Butler.
Yes.
Marge Gavoni.
Yes.
Pete Hensler.
Aye.
Char Jewell.
Yes.
Kate Levier.
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 20.
I move to approve the amendment to employment agreement for Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment, Christine Hessler, at a salary of $116,042.30, which also extends the contract to June 30th, 2025.
Second.
No public here, so I'll go straight to board discussion. Anyone? Nope. All those in favor?
Kate
Oh,
Bricks.
sorry.
Oh,
I can say that. I can say all those in favor, and then you can do your thing.
Kate Bricks.
Yes.
Jessica Bridges.
Yes.
Jenny Butler.
Yes.
Marge Gavoni.
Yes.
Pete Hensler.
Aye.
Char Jewell.
Yes.
Kate Levier.
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 2.
I move to approve the amendment to employment agreement for Lisa Garno, Director of Special Services, at a salary of $128,935.89, which also extends the contract to June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Any board discussion? All those in favor?
Kate Bricks.
Yes.
Jessica Bridges.
Yes.
Jenny Butler.
Yes.
Marge Gavoni.
Yes.
Pete Hensler.
Aye.
Char Jewell.
Yes.
Kate Levier.
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Yes. Thank you. Number 3.
I move to approve the employment agreement for Assistant Superintendent Christine Frost-Burtonay at a salary of $131,155.82, which also extends the contract to June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Thank you. Any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Kate Bricks?
Yes.
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Jenny Butler?
Yes.
Marge Gavoni?
Yes.
Pete Hensler?
Aye.
Char Jewel?
Yes.
Kate Levier?
Yes.
Jody Carroll?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 21.
Oh, me, okay. I move to approve the employment agreement for Superintendent Christopher Howell at a salary of $152,484.08, which also extends the contract to June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Any board discussion? Yes?
So if anyone from the public is watching this meeting and they pay attention to budgeting, they will see that the increase that is being put forward for Chris Howell is more than the normal. So I just wanted to say publicly that not only do I support this, and I think that it is very well deserved, but it was my idea. So if anybody has a problem with it, they can feel free to email me. I think that working with Chris for almost a whole year now, he not only is well deserving, but he has earned every dollar of his salary and benefits. And as I put it to other folks on the board when I put this forth, we would be lost without him. And I know that there's some folks in the public that may not hold agreement with the entirety of my opinion, and they are free to do so. And I would welcome discussion with anyone that would like to come forward to discuss the merits of this increase. But I wholeheartedly support it. And so if anybody's upset, feel free to send me an email.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Kate Bricks?
Yes.
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Jenny Butler? Marge Gavoni?
Yes.
Pete Hensler?
Aye.
Char Jewel?
Yes.
Kate Levier?
Yes.
Jody Carroll?
Yes.
We are now on item 22, please.
I move to approve the minutes of the June 1st, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Wow. Any board discussion? All those in favor?
Kate Bricks?
Yes.
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Jenny Butler?
Yes.
Marge Gavoni?
Yes.
Pete Hensler?
Aye.
Char Jewel?
Yes.
Kate Levier?
Yes.
Jody Carroll?
Yes.
Well,
Wait, she has to abstain.
No, she doesn't.
She wasn't
Yeah.
at the meeting.
No, but you can still read them.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't have to be there to approve them.
all right. Okay.
okay.
You know that?
Are we all set? I'm going to move on to student representative recognition. We love students. And we have been exceedingly lucky to have Al Potter represent the students of the district on the board. He is extremely articulate. He provides really good insight and terrific updates, and has a very cryptic smile when it comes to Quiz Bowl. And we are very, very fortunate to have you on the board.
Thank you.
And so we want to thank you with this gift, but we're also excited, if you would pass that down,
Pass it down.
that you will also be serving us again next year.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love having you on the board, so thank you.
Great to be here.
Okay, the most exciting one of all.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Before everybody runs away, we have 4 different warrants I need you to sign. I'll line them up on the table. So on your way out, if you could sign all 4.
Do we have to do a roll call though for adjournment?
No, but yes, we do.
Yes.
So we need to make it. I just don't want you to call me back later.
are we? Does that have to be in order? Like if you sign
Yeah,
the first
sign each
line?
one in the same spot.
The same
Never hurts
spot.
to.
Okay.
Kate Bricks,
Yes.
Jessica Bridges.
Yes.
Jenny Butler,
Yes.
Marge Gavoni.
Yes.
Pete Hensler.
Aye.
Char Jewel.
Yes.
Kate Levier.
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.